So for thermal bridging, I designed a resource that I felt would give students a better understanding of what thermal bridging actually is. It might be hard for students to understand what thermal bridging is, but trying to visualise with drawings and through books. So I designed a model that would help me explain what thermal bridging is. So here we have got a wall. We've got our external block, we have our cavity and our internal stud wall. So you can see your internal stud. So I use Cobb's. I'm going to use Cobb's cycle to organise my lesson. And the first part of Cobb's cycle that I started off with is concrete experience. So this is trying or doing something, and it doesn't matter if successful. So what I'm trying to explain is with thermal bridging is this is the loss of heat through materials in the building. So we can see I purposely didn't put any insulation in this at the start, so we can see that heat can escape through the stud partition into the cavity. So to test this, I can show them using a hairdryer. Put your hand in the cavity and you can feel the air coming through. So then what I did was I sent them back to their desks and I moved on to the reflective observation stage. So this is where the students take a step back and reflect on the experience. So they're reflecting on what has just happened and reflecting on what thermal bridging is. The point of this is so that this will solidify the experience in their memory, hopefully for forever or for a long time. So by doing this model, this will be fit to help them think back and recall what thermal bridging is. So in this section, students will be split up into groups and take notes, and there'll be classroom discussions on what actually just happened. So this will help for future recollection of this experience. The next part I'll move on to is the abstract conceptualization. So this is the next stage in Cobb's cycle, which I use. This is how I'm going to organise my lesson. This is creatively thinking about the experience and how we could improve it. So how are we going to actually improve this experience? So here, through research, the pupils are going to research. They're also going to use their books and materials, and I'm going to show a video online on what thermal bridging is. So through their research, they're going to find that in order to stop thermal bridging and heat loss through materials, we're going to need to put insulation between the stud partitions. So students will also complete MCQs and questions so I can ensure that they get a better understanding of what thermal bridging is before I can move on to the next stage of Cobb's cycle, which will be the final stage, which is active experimentation. So now that I'm going to take the students up now to the front of the class, and what they're going to do is the teacher along with the students is going to participate in the experiment. This is because there isn't enough materials to go around and for the students to create them themselves. So I bring the students up around the front of the classroom, but they can also, it's an active experiment where they can take part in the experiment. So this is basically repeating the original experience with the new insulation approach. So now students can use insulation and insulate the cavities. They have to understand that properly install the insulation so you're getting most continuity out of the insulation, and that no thermal bridging occurs. So now we can move on and try our experiment. So we use the hairdryer again, and if we put our hand, the students can insulate and put their hand in their cavity, so they can all take part in this. We feel no air coming into the cavity. That means that insulation stops thermal bridging. The next part is we can also insulate our cavity. This is our 100mm insulation. So I also wanted to describe thermal looping to them. So thermal looping occurs when if there's bad building or bits of mortar in the joints, what happens is the air gets into the cavity and it's thermal looping. The hot air hits the cold air, and it can also cause condensation to build up. So we can see now, if we can take a part of the insulation out here and turn on our hairdryer. we can feel the air coming up in between the cavity and the internal leaf. So it is important. This also shows the children that it's important to ensure that our internal leaf is tight till our insulation. When we turn on our hairdryer again, no air comes up through the cavity. So this is how I would alter my lesson to. This is how I'd structure my lesson to show thermal looping. This way it gives students a better understanding and easier to visualise and concept what thermal looping is, if they can, or thermal bridging is, sorry, if they can actually see the whole experience and take part in the experience. Also, I'd show them that you can use an internal insulated slab. This goes on the face of our internal leaf, and this is also insulated with a plasterboard slab on to prevent any thermal bridging from occurring. So this is how this is my lesson on thermal bridging.